Hi everyone, thank you for joining me today. My name is Sean Hester with Revizto. I am our Construction Strategic Implementation Manager, working with all of our GCs in North America. And today we're going to talk about some field best practices with some new tools that are in version 5 of Revizto, which just came out a little bit ago. Now, we do have some best practice videos surrounding overall field use on our help desk, which includes some, typical tools such as sectioning tool, measuring, getting around from 2D to 3D, that sort of thing. Those are already available today. What I'm going to focus on is the use of some of the new Revizto 5 tools. Okay, and we're going to hit on a couple things. We're going to walk through some of our load-unload links dialog box and how to manipulate models that are in your project. We're going to talk about the object tree and how that can be used in a field type manner, both on a desktop and the iPad. We're going to talk about that object search and changing visibility and isolating certain things within your project. And then we're also going to hit on the properties side of version 5. We have some very unique tools for creating favorites in your project to better organize data so you're not having to search for things. And we'll focus on that as well. Now, some assumptions about what we're talking about today. Assumptions about the overall quality of the models, what you're searching for in the model that we're going to look in today might not necessarily be available on the model that you have for your project. Each project can be done a little bit differently, although the authoring tools are becoming more and more consistent, as well as the data for the geometry within those authoring tools. There can be a few things that are unique to each project. So just a disclaimer there that, again, some things that I'm searching for, you might have trouble searching for in your project, but definitely give these techniques a try, again, both on the desktop as well as the iPad, as you're getting more familiar with Revizto in that version 5 platform. So let's go ahead and let's start with the load-unload links dialog box. Okay, that's going to be this button over here on the upper right-hand side. And again, this is new to Revizto 5. When I select this, it actually shows me all of the models that have been included from an exporting perspective into my project. Now, a couple things that are unique about this data. From an overall project perspective, there's a lot of information on here. There's data of when this information was exported, synced, who did the exporting, who synced it, if it's moved at all, and what Revizto version it's been exported to. Now, again, a lot of information here, not necessarily relevant for the field use. For the field use, we're going to talk about our presets, okay? Now, what I can do with this information within Revizto in this dialog box is I can actually load and unload model files. And you see what happened there is our site went away, our cranes went away, and our reality capture also went away. Okay, that's because we unloaded this information. It's not hidden right now, it's truly unloaded. So as I go to any view within the project, whether it's in 3D from a viewpoints perspective, if we jump into here and we look at our point cloud file, right? I have a view set up here to go look at a point cloud, but it doesn't show anything because we aren't having that information loaded within our project, okay? These presets can be really beneficial because this actually selects the model information over here on the left-hand side with those checkboxes where we can now load this into the project. And now you can see the site comes back and that reality capture comes back, right? Because we've now reloaded that information, okay? Now, the reason why this is very beneficial is for a couple reasons. One, depending on our file naming convention, sometimes this doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? I could probably guess that ST is structure, EL is electrical, we might have some HVAC in here, some site, but if I'm not looking at these models every day, this doesn't really mean a whole lot to me. These presets can really help just decipher that information because this is easy, right? Do I want to look at the scan? Okay, well, you can see that all the other model files have now turned off and we're just looking at that point cloud scan, okay? Now, what if I want to look at the rest of the project from just a building perspective? All right, I'm going to go with full building, no site, no scan. We can see that information get selected. And now we're seeing the model as it relates to just our fabrication information, right? So again, this can be really beneficial not only to see what you want, to unload what you don't want, because if it's unloaded, it means Revizto isn't having to render that information. So this can truly help drive adoption in the field, because our iPads are going to be working quicker and smoother and faster because we're not rendering the information we don't want to see. All right, so I'm gonna stick with what we have in here right now for the models that we're looking at. So I'm focusing in on just that fabrication information. All right. Now let's talk about our object search. Okay. And what I mean by our object search is actually looking at our object tree. Okay. And again, this is a big difference from what you guys saw back in Revizto 4. This object tree is a lot different, right? We can dive all the way down into the specific file path information to look at specific chunks of information, right? We can dive all the way down to the geometry level now, okay? And be able to actually focus on these objects within the model, okay? Looks like this is part of a foundation wall within here, okay? But the other thing that is beneficial, not only from selecting something and seeing, all right, what file this is a part of, and like you saw, being able to focus in on that item, we can actually search for items within the project, okay? And this is the object search I was talking about. So let's say I want to look for all of the slabs within my project. I'm just going to type slabs within here. We're going to search for that, and I'm going to isolate this information, okay? Now we're looking at all the slabs, okay? Pretty quick and easy, right? If I want to zoom to a specific slab, I can do that, right? We can focus in on that item. Maybe I want to color the slabs within the project and make them a red color, okay, so they can stand out. And maybe while I'm in there, I also want to isolate information, okay? Now, what you're seeing me do here is I'm actually right-clicking on the selected properties within the object tree. We can do the same thing over here in the actual model, okay? If I'm on the iPad, the easiest way to do this is going to be clicking on these three dots up here up at the top. And it's going to give me that same properties window. This also works with a long press with your finger on geometry. But you can see there's a lot of unique items and options that I can use to work within the geometry within my project, right? You saw me change the color. Well, maybe I want to see all of those slabs and isolate them with the rest of the building turned on in isolation. We're going to change everything else to transparent, and now we can quickly see where all those slabs are located, right? Pretty quick and easy. And again, this works with anything. So maybe I want to change this from slabs to my ductwork. So let's select all that ductwork, and let's right click and let's make that green color. Okay, now we can see all that information as well. And same thing, we can isolate that in transparency. Now the slabs go to a transparent. They're still red, but they go to a transparent. And now I can see that ductwork a little bit easier within the model. Okay, maybe we want to look at our windows, right? Same type of thing. Let's actually isolate all the windows here within the project, okay? But this gets us down to quickly view just the information we want to see and look for within the model, right? Now, as I'm going through and looking at some of this information, it may be beneficial, and I'm just going to right click and isolate and transparency again on this info. You know, it may be beneficial if this is a view that I want to come back to, for me to save this out as a viewpoint within the project. And this is something, again, that we do have other videos for, but it also is worth noting, you know, any of these geometry changes we're making, whether it's color or transparency, is going to hold when we save these viewpoints out. Okay, so we'll just say duct and transparent building. Okay. And like I said, if we go back to home view, everything's going to go back to our typical view, kind of that start view where we're going back, geometry changes back to what it is before. And then when we click on those viewpoints, it's going to take us back to what we were doing, right? So this can be a really, really beneficial way to get around the model and, again, manipulate that geometry in a manner that is going to help us better visualize the project and search for certain items, okay? I'm going to turn my viewpoints off, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit here, and let's talk about the properties. Okay, this was another part of the video that we wanted to show today. Now, when I open up our properties, there is a lot of information in here, right? As I drill down even further, a lot of info. And this is information that's coming from the authoring tool. All very important, relevant information that is important for me as I'm going through here and kind of analyzing the project, right? This holds a lot of value. What Revizto 5 offers is the ability to save out favorites for me to see every time I click a certain piece of geometry, okay? And what that means is we can see the hearts located for some of these already, name and type. And I'm gonna hold on to those, but I'm also gonna select some other parameters in here that are going to be important for me. Maybe a top constraint, maybe a specific height, that base constraint. Where is this actually sitting within the project? Okay. How about an area, a volume, and a length? All something that can be beneficial as I'm quickly clicking on geometry, right? Maybe I want to look at this from a phasing perspective, right? What phase are we on within the project? Width can be very important as well, right? Is this a masonry wall? Is it a, this is labeled as a basic wall, but, there may be some other families in your project that are based upon, some of the templates that have been created from that design team, okay? And again, this is part of that, kind of disclaimer I added in the beginning of what we see here has been brought in from the authoring tool, right? This is information that's already been created from Revit in order to create these specific walls. Now, I've selected a bunch of properties here that are beneficial for me, things that I want to see every time I click on a wall within my project, okay? When I click our favorites button up here, add to favorites, it allows me to now save this out, and I can call this walls, all right? I click OK, and you'll notice now that we have the parameters saved up here in our favorites section, right? So what that means is that when I click on another wall within the project, you'll see that information change. But I don't have to go scrolling down to try to find what each piece of that information is that I'm trying to get, right? Maybe I want to see the length of all these as I'm just going through and doing some quick takeoff on what's happening with these particular walls, right? Or that volume, okay? Or maybe even just understanding what type of wall this is, right? Getting back to that wall width, right? What type of wall are we working with here? Is it a basic wall? What is it, okay? And again, this allows me to quickly jump from wall to wall without having to go down and analyze this information. We can share these across the project. This is very similar to our filters that we have, and this just makes it easy to set up the project, right? So I can share this out. Now every project team member that I'm working with has those walls. Now you can see some others located in here from a favorites perspective that have been shared. And again, this allows me to really do some quick takeoff, as well as just understanding that information without having to scroll down and see all these specific parameters. And again, this becomes part of our overall setup on the project now. If this is something that I know the rest of the team is going to have a value, I can share those across the project, and now other team members can take a look at those. So quick video today. Obviously I just wanted to focus on a couple of those quick hitters with the object tree, with the favorites and the properties, to help you guys better understand a couple of new tools in Revizto. So more videos to come later on. We have a lot of great content coming out over the course of 2021 that we are walking through all of these specific new tools and how they relate to specific team members on the project. So thank you very much. Appreciate your time, and we'll see you again soon.